What is up? It's your boys here coming at you with a 2 week recap, podcast recap, because last week we had Thanksgiving. So, um, so we have 2 weeks to get through. And we're going to try and keep it short tonight. So we just are going to jump right into it. Um, no small talk. Let's just talk about, we've got 2 weeks. So let's look at the league in general. What's the state of the league, Jacob?
Well, just kind of looked at kind of some win streaks, some loss streaks, just some general overviews over the last couple of weeks. Luke, you were 0 and 4, correct? At one point in time,
I was 0-4.
and now you are on a 5-win streak, 5-game win streak, and have secured a spot in the playoffs. Ross continues to win. He is currently tied for the longest win streak of this league with 8. Mark and David going the wrong
Ever.
way.
That's
Mark with,
ever. Just
oh yes, ever. Then Mark and David going the wrong way with losing streak of 3 for Mark and 6 for David. And then we got to give mention to the Frame Train. He got a win last week,
his second of the season.
second of the season. Also, got to mention that the week prior he had another unlucky loss.
He certainly did, and it was really quite sad. I
Well,
mean, there's nobody. Yeah, we've talked a
it
lot
was
about
the
it, but
battle. It was the battle of Sam versus Benton, and Benton goes up against Mr. 160. The 1 week Sam scores a ton of points
yeah,
and
like
gets the unlucky loss.
a totally different Sam team than we've seen all year.
Yes.
Sam's highest score of the season.
Oh, for sure. Uh, but of course, he did have some luck this week, and this week was actually a lucky week.
Uh-oh. My guest seems to be having some technical difficulties.
In your hopefully his luck is turning around in his other leagues here. I know he's been a little unlucky there.
That's for the guests at home. You wouldn't get it.
Oh, I know I froze.
Oh, okay. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing that it is week 13 or week, yeah, I guess, yeah, week 13, and Benton just got his second win. Like, just think about that. Like, that is just crazy.
And like we've said all season, he's a good team.
Oh, totally. Totally.
Um, so I went over, Luke. I also congrats on your win last week, Luke. Actually, your
Thank you.
last 2 wins were pretty incredible,
Oh, my
especially
goodness.
2 weeks ago, you versus the Wiz. I feel like that deserves at least a small
I'll tell the
section of
story a
the
little
talk.
bit. Um,
Yeah.
so going into Monday night, it was the Ravens game versus, was it the Chargers last week? Ravens Chargers last week?
Ravens. It was Raven. That game was Ravens Chargers. Yes.
Okay. So going into Monday night, all my players had played. I'm set in stone. I've got 115 point, I think it was 96 points.
Yep.
115.96 because, and it was not looking good until Cortland Sutton got me 29.7 points that week in a Sunday night game, I believe, to get me into a position where it's like, oh, like, okay, now I need Zay Flowers and Lamar Jackson to combine for less than like 35 points ish was the margin I had. And I'm watching the game, and like it just seems like, Lamar on one of their first drives scores a rushing touchdown. I go, okay, I'm cooked. I'm cooked on this one. And just as the game went on, the game flow just so happened that it came down to the point where we're in the fourth quarter, and it's the penultimate drive for the penultimate possession for the Ravens, and they get it to the point where Mark's team had 0.08 less points than my team. It was 115.88 to 115.96. And I'm going, okay, that is one Lamar rush yard, that is one Zay Flower yard gained, that or reception even, that is a jet sweep to Zay Flowers or a QB keep or sneak or something. And it just stayed there because they finished their drive at that State. Derrick Henry was doing most of the work. Gus Edwards as well, or
Actually,
Justice Hill. Sorry, I mean.
what happened was they handed the ball off first down, handed the ball off second down, and then Lamar rushed. Um, but he only got like 2 yards to get up to that .88, that just barely behind you. And at that point, I text you. I say you've won, and you're like, "Oh no, no, no," because
It's just
the
so.
Chargers were down by 2 scores at this point,
Yeah, yeah. But
and
it was just so tight that it's like who knows. I don't know if Lamar is looking at his stats on the bench going, oh, like I'm, a yard away from a 100-yard game or something stupid. I don't know if he just wanted whatever 1,000 yards on the season rushing or whatever, if he just wanted to get it. There could be something stupid like that going on behind the scenes that throws off the game sense or whatever.
that doesn't happen till the last week. So
I all I know is that I was not ready to accept the victory yet. And of course, Lamar did kneel it, so I got a 2 yard breathing room. He
yes,
knelt it for negative
yeah.
2 yards in the end.
And no overnight stat corrections
No,
that do either.
so I was very invested in that game, and I could not believe that I pulled that win out. Um, and then of course this week versus who did I even play this week? Was it David? Yeah, this week
Yeah,
versus David.
yeah,
Um, I needed Cortland Sutton again to come through for me and get at least 12 points on Monday night. And sure enough, he got me 14. So I ended up winning that game as well. But it was tight games for me both weeks.
yeah, yeah. And those two games have helped secure you
Yes,
the
I've
third playoff.
clinched playoff berth.
Yes, you. And for those of you, I was after week 4. We were doing our podcast after that week, and or what was it? 4 weeks you've or 5? I
Uh-oh.
How many weeks did you lose to start?
I lost four in a row and then renamed after
Okay.
my loss to Sam.
Okay. So after week 4, we're doing our podcast, and you are down in the dumps. Like you're like, I can't believe I haven't won. Like you were really kind
I
of
didn't think I had
pretty
a season
depressed.
left. I thought I was
Yes,
out of the season.
you were ready to sell your team, and I'm like, Luke, you're only 2 games out of playoffs, like all of this, and now here we are. You're in playoffs. So congrats.
And
Ross has secured the top spot.
I might not face Ross in the first round. So
Yes,
I
Ross
might
has
even make it
secured
to
that
the
top spot.
championship.
And then Boompa has secured a spot in the 2-3 game. It doesn't really matter which seed. Um, Technically, I believe he could fall to number 3, but he'll still be in that 2-3 game. Luke, you've secured a spot, but
Yeah.
you have not secured.
Love that Google Meets. Love it.
Um, so you still have to. Um, uh,
Okay. We'll be right back. Let me look at this.
it's
It
on
keeps.
my side.
Oh, it is.
I would have. Oh, it could be you because you're in the.
Okay.
Are you in the nook again? No, you're against the
No,
wall.
I'm against the wall. I should be fine.
I would imagine I'm fine.
We'll just push through.
Okay, so a win and you secure the 3 spot or the 2-3 game. A loss in the unlikely chance that, well, essentially you would need a loss plus a win, and I would need to outscore you by 50 points for you to fall into the spot to have to face Ross. So, in all likelihood, you are in the 2-3 game
With Boompa.
with Boompa. Currently, I'm a win and I'm in, or a Mark loss and I'm in. In order for Mark to make the 4th spot in the playoffs,
Mark, listen up.
He
This is your
would need
pathway
Mark needs a win. He needs me to lose, and he needs to outscore me by about 10 points.
to beat you in the tiebreaker of points four.
Yes. So, um, I didn't think I would ever get to this point in my life, but I'm cheering against the Wiz this week.
You have to cheer against your heroes sometimes, kid.
No, I mean, he's lived long enough to become a villain in my life.
I will say, I mean, the Wiz is suffering from a little bit higher points against than other people. He's number two in points against.
Well, he's neutral luck, so we'll get to
That
that
makes
though.
sense.
Um,
Um, all right, let's give
let's
out.
get
I've
to
got
our
some
awards.
awards. Yep, I've got 2 weeks of awards to give out. Gritty award for week 12 does not go to Ross. It actually goes to Sam. It is his
Congrats,
first
Sam.
of his first of the season. Imagine that. It came against Fenton. Imagine that. Um, week 13, the Gritty award goes to Ross again with 141. He's already won the seasonal Gritty. He just keeps piling it on, padding those stats on the wins against all percentage that we'll see in a second in the JP Power Rankings. That's like JD Power and Associates. Uh,
Yeah.
the mismanager, I'll let you talk about that one because you kind of made the decision on that.
So I went through last couple of weeks. Um, Usually when I pick the mismanager, or I at least put my vote out for Luke to decide, I try and pick a team that lost the game and had they made a change or had a high scoring player play, they would have won. And so for week 12, Luke, your whole matchup against Mark was full of a lot of bench players for it to be
Totally.
decided by essentially 7 passing yards.
Mm-hmm.
Mark had Waddle on the bench with 28.4, Bucky Irving with 27.2, and then you had Addison with 30.2 on the bench.
You sure did.
Um, so I gave it to that whole, just that matchup in general was the mismanager best bench award. And then, not to pick on my hero Mark, but he also wins it for week 13, sitting Jaden Reed at 19.7 points and starting Calvin Ridley. And of course, have to give the honorable mention to Najee Harris sitting on the bench with 24 points as well.
Anytime Mark sits him on the bench, you know he's going to do well. It's just like it's correlation is not causation, but in this case, there might be some causation.
Oh, Cheese Whiz is sitting me. I better go off today.
This is for all the haters. This is for you, Mark Miltimore. I'm going to drop 100 yards this game.
Yep, yep. Do you want to move to waiver winner?
Yeah, waiver winner for week 12 at least was me with Cortland Sutton.
It was really the only worthwhile waiver I could find the last couple of weeks. I feel like him, to some extent, single handedly winning both of your
Both of
weeks.
my games, yes.
Yeah. Um, Russell Wilson games or awards. Week 12, we had the snow game against Cleveland. Russ loses. I felt like that could kind of be given to the Wiz. I mean, his game against you, it's kind of a tight game, a little bit of chaos. Um, what do you think?
Um, Considering the amount of high praise that we give to the Wiz on this show, on this podcast, we talk him up. He's got a good team, and then he loses to the idiot when it matters the most.
Yeah.
He really, I feel like these past 2 weeks, he's really choked um, a potential playoff berth. So I'm going to give Russell Wilson award this week, uh, or for week 12 at least, to the Wiz.
And then
Then
week 13, Russ wins in a high scoring game versus Cincinnati. Of course, the game is won with Justin Fields on the playing quarterback running for the first down, right? Um, so I'm going to give this one to Boompa. What do you think? Is that you're cool with that? I
I'll give
have
it to
some reason
Boompa.
behind it.
Yeah, sure.
So our game came down to Sunday night, Buffalo versus San Francisco, and it was looking like I was going to win by about 10 points. And then, of course, Glass Cannon CMC goes down. And I still had somewhat of a chance, but Josh Allen, are you aware that he had the full double dip touchdown?
No,
Okay, so they're on the 7. He throws it to Amari Cooper at roughly the 3. Amari's grabbed right away and is about to be tackled. Amari Cooper pitches the ball back to Josh Allen. Josh Allen runs it in for the touchdown.
you're kidding.
On that play, Josh Allen is credited with a 7 yards passing, 1 passing touchdown, 7 yards receiving, 1 receiving touchdown. It is worth like 10.7 points or like 10, like 11 points.
Essentially, what decided your game? Your game was an 11-point game, a 10.5-point game.
Yeah. So,
So a fluke wins Boompa the game.
I mean, in theory, Josh is going to get those some at least a fraction of those
Yeah,
points no matter
sure.
what. Um, but I mean, I
I mean,
gotta
unless Amari goes
draw
down and it goes to James Cook.
right. I mean, we still have to draw some attention to the fact that this double dip touchdown is unbelievable. Um, but Boompa still wins. So yeah.
Wow. So Boompa wins Russell Wilson for that one.
Well, I mean, between CMC going down for injuries, it kind of felt like Fields running for that first round down to seal the game. And then it being a high scoring game, just also the freakness of Josh Allen. Like I felt like it kind of mirrored Russell Wilson's week.
Yep. We have. I don't have the president on the line right now, um, but I did receive notice that the Under 100 Club has a new entrant, and that is you. It's not your first entry this year,
No,
but
no,
it is a new entry, another one to go in the logbook here. So in week 12, you hit under 100, which I was very surprised by because your team's been pretty good and avoided that.
my my
Yeah,
my team is a solid 110 every week. It's by no means impressive.
well, you're not coming for the president's position yet. I think he's got
Okay,
3 or 4 entries, so I think Sam has 4 entries at this point, and you
yeah,
only have two, three, maybe.
I believe it's 2 or 3. So
And then just because I want to make sure we didn't pass over this too quickly. Again, Ross is currently poised. If he beats me, he will gain the largest or longest win streak in our league's history ever. Our first season, 2021, that was that simultaneous long win streaks of David and Boompa, 8 and 7, respectively. So David currently has it. Ross is currently tied for the longest streak, which means Boompa, you're knocked down to number 3. And yeah, he could very easily, I think, take the top spot and get a 9 win streak with a win next week. So that would be big news because that has not changed in 3 years in our league. So that would be huge. And 9 game win streak is going to be very, very tough to beat.
yeah, that's legendary stuff.
It
Congrats,
is
Ross.
legendary stuff.
If you get there, congrats for your 8 still, though.
All right, let's talk about some of the movement we've seen on the rosters for this week.
Well, I gotta. So CMC goes down. Do you know that like Sunday, Ross picked up Jordan Mason prior to this Buffalo game, prior to CMC going down?
I I wonder what the theory was there. If he maybe heard
I'm
rumblings,
I'm sure it was more just a high value handcuff, but I was about to like ask Ross if he'd put some voodoo magic on CMC.
knowing
But of
Ross, he
course,
probably is.
Jordan Mason also goes down that game. So, sorry. Um, so this week, mainly movement on my front, uh, much to the disgruntlement of Boomps. Boomps, I'm not sure what you're wanting to do different. This, I feel like,
Yeah, he's just, you know what? He can submit during our rules referendum window. He can submit a motion, but if he ain't got anybody to second that motion, he's all alone complaining, whining into the wind about how waivers didn't benefit him this week, and so we got to change him altogether, even though they haven't changed in 4 years, 4 seasons.
Well, see, the issue is I got Jonnu Smith above him because I have a higher
That
waiver
was the
spot.
only one that I saw. I was like, what
No,
is he
no, no,
so
no,
disgruntled at?
no. I got Jonnu Smith. He wanted Jonnu to double up with Tua. And then the other one,
How
so
dare
then
you get in the
he,
way of his double dip?
I know. Then he picked up a defense, and then I got Jerry Judy in
Oh,
ahead of
that's right. I
him.
did see.
So
Yes.
he just unfortunately only got the defense that we both wanted, and I got the two position players. But yeah, I literally revamped my whole team. Going into last night, I had like 10 waiver claims on my pending move. So, Luke, I
I'm
do feel like
assuming
we
that's not replacing 10 players. That's just like
like
the
6 or
waterfall effect.
7.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
wow.
yeah, there was
Okay.
some waterfall, but like I had a couple IR injuries to non-keepers that I have to toss.
Yeah.
Most of my bench was just I'm like these players are I'm never going to play them. Yeah, Luke, we got to mention that you got Isaac Garendo, the bell of the ball, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. I dropped Kareem Hunt for him.
I mean,
Um, so
San
he's up for
Francisco
grabs.
running backs, San Francisco running backs haven't been doing great as of like the last 6 weeks,
Yeah.
but maybe some fresh legs.
He's got, I think he's got more potential I mean, he's an RB1 for now. Who knows? I'm assuming that is not necessarily a lock on that spot quite yet because he's pretty unproven. Um,
He took the majority of the carries when Mason went down while CMC was on IR. So, um, yeah. And then also, Mark, in a must-win situation, unfortunately, Lamar's on bye,
yeah.
and he has crowned Sam Darnold as the herald to the Cheese Whiz to
Uh,
get into the playoffs.
which is really confusing to me because Sam has not been a great fantasy quarterback, has he? What's
He's
his
been a pretty
position rank?
I mean, I don't think he's had a ton of boom games, but he's a Sam's a pretty consistent like 13 to 20, I would bet.
He's QB8, actually. He's
Yeah,
averaging 17.2 points. I
that makes
stand
a sense.
corrected. Okay. Well, yeah, he's had two really bad games, the Jets
Yeah.
and the Jaguars.
Yep.
Those were both his only games under 10 points. Um, and actually, his only games under his lowest other than that is 14 points. So, okay. I I will eat my words. Pretty good move. What's our matchup this week? We're against Atlanta. Ooh, Kirk revenge game.
Return. Return of Kirko.
Is it at home?
Yeah.
Oh snap!
You want to go?
That would actually be a lot of fun. Kirk would, yeah, he'll probably be fired up about it. I don't know.
Um, I'm sure
He'll be like,
he'll
"Oh
go
shoot,
visit the
guys!
old. Oh, guys, you see over there? There's my favorite Coles.
Hey, that's where I used to go to church." I don't know why he
All
turned
right.
into some little sea urchin,
Let's
street
move to the
urchin. I
luck
mean,
standings.
okay,
So we've had a little bit of luck movement the last couple weeks. Had 3 games, or essentially, um, yeah, whatever. Luke, you are officially lucky +3.
it doesn't feel that way, but I know it's true, and I feel like I will say it does seem pretty lucky that I made it to the playoffs.
Sometimes you just need that luck to swing. Mark down to neutral, Boompa up to neutral, uh, David down to unlucky -2, and then
Mm.
Benton in the week we did not do our podcast got unlucky -5, but he is after this week with his lucky win is back to unlucky -4. So
-5 on lucky is just crazy.
I'm just glad we didn't have to broadcast that to the world.
You know what? The only thing that I will say about these luck things is at least he has like some sort of excuse or like something to point at to be like, look, see, like I'm not crazy. I have a good
Oh
team.
yeah.
I have a good
Oh
manager.
yeah. Yeah, and then this sad thing that I'd prefer not to show everyone, but my analytic power rankings, the wins
Oh
against
yeah.
all, Ross, Boompa, you, and Mark have remained these top four, and Benton moved up to five, David's up to six.
How are you not luckier? I mean, you're lucky plus two, but like, how are
I
you
think
on the edge of playoffs and ranked number seven in these power rankings?
I've had a couple weeks where if you are the lowest scorer, it really tanks your wins against all. Like,
Hmm.
that's,
Sure.
and I believe I was the lowest scorer this week, so um,
Or I can
that really hurt.
imagine getting a lucky win where it's lowest score versus, or
Yes,
second lowest score
yes.
versus the lowest.
Not all lucky wins are created equal in the terms
Yeah,
of my
that's
wins
true.
against all. So,
That's very true.
yeah, I mean, I'm I'm lucky. I like I said, I feel like my team is a solid 110 point team, and that's about it. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
meanwhile, Benton's 11-2 team is number five.
2 and
Yeah,
11,
just
2 and 11 team.
yeah, 2-11.
Yeah, yeah.
11-2. No, that would be something else.
Well, let's preview week 14.
Well, I've got the boom, and I'm really scared to be fully honest. I
So
Yeah,
I would say your game um, is one of the least. Um,
important.
yeah, I mean, a win secures the 3 seed for you, which is very important to not go up against Ross, right?
I'm just looking at the Eagles going against Carolina, and like
Saquon might have a day.
I'm just picturing the massacre. Although that's what I thought about who played them this last week. Was it the Bucks? That's what I thought about Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield, and that didn't necessarily happen for me. But I mean, let's not forget even Brock Bowers last week was 30.2 points. 2 weeks ago, 31 points. So he's become a force of nature.
Do you realize that Ross's team has the number one running back, fantasy wise, the number one wide receiver, and the number one tight end?
Well, that explains some things. And the number three kicker.
Which that kicker is quite well. He hasn't been as good lately, but
No.
he carried Ross for those first couple weeks.
Yeah.
The other not as consequential game this week, Brain Train versus the Contendas. I would imagine Benton wants to keep some good mojo going. He's already secured the first pick next year, so um, but I mean, you got to root for Benton, right?
Yeah. I think the best thing that could happen for Benton is that um, some of his players have a good last few weeks that maybe give him either confidence in them as keepers, or if he already is eyeing somebody else, like maybe some trade fodder for somebody else as a keeper, for round picks in the preseason
Yeah,
next year.
yeah. I got to root for Benton just to get a lucky win. Unlucky -4 to end on that, just as fitting as it would be for this season. It just also feels bad.
Watch it be like Boompa 140, Benton 138. and it's another unlucky loss just to end the season. Like that would just be so fitting. Oh my goodness.
Um, next game, let's do rebrand revenge versus trust and repeat. Simple win, and I'm in the playoff scenario for me. Um, like I said, I made a lot of changes to my team. Uh, um,
You made a lot of
yeah,
changes to your team.
yeah. Back with the ex David Njoku. He's on my bench right now, but
Hey, Jameis Winston is breathing new life into the Browns.
it's crazy. It's like when you're not a horrible person, the team is okay.
Listen, y'all can practice. I'm gonna go get my massage.
Um, yeah. And then game of the week, Cheese Whiz versus the Romness.
Mark has to win in order to have a chance. You have to lose, and like you said, it's a no Lamar week for the Wiz. So it's going to be a tough win for him to pull off, I think. And you did mention, now that you're frozen, I'll just say this. You did mention that not having Zay Flowers might be actually more of a boon than a hindrance, um, just because you don't have to make the decision on whether or not to start him. It's just out of your hands at that point.
That's right. I mean, Lamar has been his secret weapon all year, though.
Totally
So
true.
we'll see. Um, see if the emotional bye week that Sam used to be or has been for most of the season can maybe not be so emotional bye week and deliver a win to secure that for me as well.
I would love to see Sam put another entry into the under 100 club. I'm just curious if like what David wants out of this. Obviously, like ending on a win is always good, but like, is he so spiteful that he wants to spoil your?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get the whiz into it. Easy cannon fodder for round one with Ross. Now, I could see a scenario happening where um, you lose but score enough to keep the tiebreaker. So that could also happen too. Because I think, well, I don't know what your team is projected even this week.
130.
And what's Mark projected at? He's projected
Um,
104, but he's got guys in who are not.
yeah.
Oh, just Lamar. He's got in. He'll put.
So it'll
Oh
be like
man,
120.
he's gonna put Najee in. I just know it. Bucky Irving has a red Q next to his name, so Najee is gonna go in that flex spot for Mark. I have a feeling, and Najee's gonna get him the classic 5 points. So, all right. Well, it is going to be an interesting week. We will get the full playoff picture at the end of this week. Like we will know exactly how it's going to shape up, and then we can start to make some bold predictions about champions and losers. And I, my hot take that Boompa wasn't going to make the championship, I might have the chance to come through on my own hot take and take him out. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
It'll be interesting, especially with 1 week playoff. Anything can
Yeah,
happen.
anything can happen. I, week or the championship is still 2 week, right? Yeah, yeah, it is. I think. Um,
All right.
okay. Well, we won't trust Google Meets next time.
Nope. Let's go before my Wi-Fi cuts again or
All right.
whatever's going on.
Adios,
Blech.
people.